There are marketplace strategies. There are marketplace frameworks. There are marketplace structures. There are marketplace wisdom that we need to understand and we need to begin to implement. So if you are listening to me, your background does not matter. What matters is where you're going to. Whether you're listening from a village, from a semi-urban area, it doesn't matter. What matters is where God is taking you to. Whether you're listening to me and you're feeling as if you're a failure, that doesn't matter. What matters is, are you willing? Are you ready to have a better life? Because God is ready to partner with you to make that happen. That is the question, right? So today, I will be teaching on a very unique concept, which I feel it is a powerful concept that every person who desires to do great things using the life God has given them, you must know that. And before I get to that, there are certain things, there are certain concepts that until they are rooted in our hearts, until they are rooted in our minds, we cannot be able to achieve certain results, right? One of my favorite books to read, which I would encourage many of us to read, is called The Art of War. The Art of War, written by a Chinese general, The Art of War, very powerful book. And there is a saying in that book that always rings in my head. And that saying goes, if you do not know your enemies, know yourself, you will be destroyed in every single battle. If you do not know your enemy and you do not know yourself, you will be destroyed in every single battle. And many people have not been able to grow in that which they are doing because there are a lot of things that they don't know. And there are a lot of things that they don't know about their own selves. For example, there are many of you here right now, you judge yourself based on your current performance instead of judging yourself based on your future potential. If you begin to analyze yourself and conclude on yourself right now based on where you're coming from and where you are right now, you are selling yourself short. I never judge myself based on my present achievements or where I'm coming from. I judge myself based on my future potentials. I try to analyze, okay, where is the Joybert in 2030? When you begin to bank on yourself based on your future potentials, you begin to position yourself in a place where you can do more. Right? And this concept has challenged me a lot, because when I'm thinking like that, I am thinking, okay, the Joybert of the future can do this and do that and do this across different nations, across different continents, and can build this and can build that. But if I analyze myself based on my current resources, based on the current level of my bank account, based on the current level of my knowledge, I will undersell myself, right? So it is important that as a people, as a community of professionals and entrepreneurs, one thing you need to do is to do what? Make sure you know yourself and you know the marketplace you are entering into. The next thing I'd like to talk about is one of the things that I discovered years ago that really impacted me was I came into this world as an individual, but I need to die as an entity. Did you hear that? There are many people that come into this world as individuals and they die as individuals. There are some people that when they come into this world, they die as entities. For example, Louis Vuitton was somebody's name. He was born as Louis Vuitton, but he died as an entity. Right? I can give you many, many examples of companies like that. Tesla, one of the most valuable companies in the world in the car industry, came as an individual, but now died as an entity. Right? Toyota came as an individual, but died as an entity. We can go back to Cameroon, go to Nigeria. Dangote came, was born as an individual, but will die as an entity. They didn't understood this. It began to challenge me. Oh my goodness, I cannot die as an individual. I have to die as an entity. Even if you go back to the Bible, you will see that, when Jacob encountered God, he ended up dying as a nation. God changed his name from Jacob into Israel, and he became a nation, right? So, and it is one of the things that I'll be teaching a lot in this community, in challenging us to make sure that you stop living life as an individual. You start structuring yourself to become an entity, right? It's going to affect the way you think, the way you act, and the way you build things for the future. So the question is, will you die as an individual or an entity? That's the question, right? And it depends. It's not a must, right? But if you have the kind of mindset that you desire to do things that, let me use the word unthinkable or challenging things, then one of the new concepts that I want to challenge you to start thinking about is, how do I move from being an individual into being an entity? See, it will make you to stop living as an average person and stop doing things like a common average person. Because you will start seeing yourself as an entity, and the way you begin to approach life and build whatever you're doing will be different. So I have a question for you, and I'd like to see your responses in the chat box. Will you want to die as an individual or an entity? Come on, tell me in the chat box. Will you want to die as an individual or an entity? The first part of this session of our ministrations from now henceforth will challenge you. I will shake up your thinking. I will show you things in the world that you say, but wait, is this how far the world has gone to? Yes, that's how far. Right? It doesn't matter where you are. What matters is, are you willing to get the things I will be teaching you and implement them in your life so you can move forward? So you can move forward. All right? The next thing I want to talk about is, many people think that they are thinking, but they are just rearranging their ignorance. And this is why, if you are the type of person that you're never conscious about your thinking, you need to start being conscious about it. Because I always say that when the quality of your thinking changes, the quality of your life will change. Right? How you make money now, or how much money comes into your bank account every month at this particular point in time, is a reflection of the quality of your thinking. Or it's a reflection of the quality of your executed thinking. And there are some people that they are not really thinking, they are just rearranging their ignorance. Do you know what it means to rearrange ignorance? You begin to take what you don't know, you begin to put it here and there, you're just moving around the bush. You have not really outgrown your current state, but you are very busy. But in that busyness, nothing is really changing. You are just rearranging your ignorance, and you're at the same spot year in, year out. One of the things that will be happening is that through the teachings I will be teaching, some people need to shake up their thinking patterns so that they stop rearranging their ignorance and really start thinking. And really, really start thinking, right? That is very important. And the ladder of success will continue to be difficult for many people if they do not understand and deploy certain mindset and skills. And this is one thing that has kept the church for so long. I have grown in the church. I was born in the church. Basically, I grew in the church, right? So I can talk about the church to a certain extent. One of the reasons that many Christians have grown to seem as if they are very spiritual, but many of them are just religious. They're not really spiritual, right? Study for another day. But you see that they are very involved in the things of God, but their lives do not really display the goodness of God they talk about. Do you know why? Because the ladder of success will continue to be very difficult for many people if they do not understand and deploy certain mindsets and skills. So the goal of this will be to start challenging your mindset, because there are certain mindsets that if you do not develop, no matter where you go. See, I was doing a research and I'm still doing it. More than 80% of people who leave Africa, including Cameroon, and go to Europe and come to America, go to Canada to look for greener pastures, many of them still live below, but they still live poor actually. Very few get to really do well, very few. When I travel, I've met many Cameroonians who they don't live in houses, they live in cars, or they try to squat somewhere because they can't even afford house rent, but they have full-time jobs. Because the more the advanced the economy is, the more expensive it is. Right? So if you're not able to make a certain amount of money, you cannot really afford housing. Right? Now, why is that? Because they leave their African countries. I shared a video in one American WhatsApp group a few days ago, and some people watched the video and they came and left a very interesting comment. And the comments said, and that comment was from a Cameroonian. I don't want to go into that comment. I would have loved to read that comment. But the comment was, in summary, in paraphrasing, was, this is the major reason why many people leave Africa, leave Cameroon, and they come to America, yet they are broke. I was talking to one lady. Do you know one thing she said? When she goes back to Africa, to Cameroon, she's a Nigerian, not Cameroon, a Nigerian. Anytime she buys, when she's going back home, she will always buy a lot of things to go and distribute back at home to family and friends and all of that. But she's the one who knows that she borrows that money to buy the things so that she can go prove a point that she's coming from America. And this actually the many things that many people are doing. There's something in the North American system known as a credit card system. There are many people doing big things back in Africa. Meanwhile, they're in heavy debt. Right? I was reading a story just today, this morning. I was reading a story of an African, and I think it's a Nigerian or a Cameroonian. I was reading a story where his passport has been revoked by IRS because he's so in debt and he's owing taxes that they decided to revoke his international passport. And there are many people like that. But on the outside, you feel that they are doing well. No, they are not. Right? And one of the major challenges is back to this point. Many people go to these economies, the UK, the US, and all of that. You know, the first time I came to the US to do work and all of that, when I met Cameroonians and I interviewed and talked to them, I did not envy to be in their shoes. I did not envy to be in their shoes. But the point is, the major difference is that, you know, when they change a few dollars and they take it back home with a lot of money, right? And people feel that, oh, these guys are doing well. But until they begin to open up their lives to see that the house they built, they are paying heavy credit card loans and they can barely feed well being in the same country where people feel that they're doing well. A lot of intricacies. But why am I saying all of this? It goes back to one of the conclusions I have made is that many of these people are not able to grow the ladder of success because they do not understand and they do not know how to deploy certain mindset and skill sets that can position them to align with the space of the economy. The space of the economy, right? Good. A person who understands and believes truth, this is one of my core things that I stand by as a person. Anybody, listen to this, anybody who understands truth and believes in that truth will always apply it. If I teach you something, I tell you something, and you say it is the truth, one of the metrics that I will use to measure that you agree with me that I am telling you the truth is your ability to apply the truth. So, truth is not just about you hearing the truth and understanding it. It is also your ability to deploy that truth into your life, implement it so you can see the result that the truth can produce in your life, because every truth gives birth to result. Truth is not complete without result in the life of the person who received the truth. And this is one reason why, if you genuinely encounter Jesus Christ and you believe that salvation through Jesus Christ is the truth, the application of what Jesus stands for should be seen in your life. You see, this is why I always say that many people are just religious, but they are not believers. There are many people who are in church and they call themselves Christians, but they are not really believers. They are just religious people. Because a believer receives the truth, understands the truth, or gets revelation about the truth, and then apply that truth in their life, and their life produces a different kind of life because of the impact of that truth. Right? So, this thing that I'm talking about, I want you to critically begin to do a self-analysis, because I'm just laying the foundation to the lot of things and strategies and frameworks that we will be covering in the next couple of weeks and months. Because the goal is everybody in this fellowship, if you're a career person, you should be advancing. You should be able to look at your life from January to April, and we can clearly pinpoint that this is how your life improved in all spheres, especially financially, of course, right? Because there is a way you begin to grow that you don't look for money. You don't become a slave to money. No, you begin to attract the money and the opportunities that can produce the money. Anybody who is a slave to money, who is always looking for money and always stressed about money, there are a lot of truth about the marketplace, about wealth creation or money-making systems that they have not received, they don't understand, and they have not yet applied in their lives. Will you make mistakes? Yes. But when you begin to make mistakes, you begin to draw yourself closer to that place of abundance and that place of freedom. Right? Good. So, one of the things that we need to begin to achieve or come to that place is where we as a people, we do not allow life to happen to us. We are the ones to happen to life. There are two types of people on earth. People that life happens to them and people that happen to life. And you see, the things I've been talking about so far, if you will become the person that happens to life, you need to understand these truths and begin to deploy them in your life. Because people that life happens to them, it is either they are doing nothing with their life, or they are ignorant about so many things. So life begins to happen to them. And people who happen to life, they know these truths and many more, and they execute them on a daily basis that they begin to happen to life. What do I mean happen to life? There are many ways I can explain this, but let me use the example of opportunities. I always say that everybody is gifted on earth, but not everybody is opportune to get access to opportunities. Opportunities are not equally distributed, but talent is equally distributed. God gave everybody talent. Even right now, a young boy in a village right now with no electricity, with no access to drinking water, with no internet, that young boy is talented. But the opportunity is not equally distributed. So people that happen to life, one thing they are good at doing is they are good at positioning and aligning themselves so that opportunities can meet them, or they can meet opportunities. So they happen to life. But people that life happens to them, they are gifted and talented, yes, but they are totally ignorant, and they don't do anything to align themselves or position themselves where opportunity can find them. So people like that, they get to grow old, they're in their 35, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and nothing really significant has happened in their lives. Because over time, they have lived life in a way that life happens to them instead of them happening to life. Now, coming to us as a community of kingdom entrepreneurs and professionals, one thing I know and I believe in is that God has empowered everybody to have the capacity to happen to life. Anybody who is a believer, anybody who is a Christian, has been empowered with the capacity to happen to life. I can give you many things that God has empowered us. Number one, chief of it all, the gift of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, God gave the Holy Spirit so he can be our companion, so we can happen to life. So we can lead and live this life. We can have power over certain situations. Number two is what talk about favor. Favor gives you access. The Bible says Jesus grew in stature and in favor before God and before man. Favor is a spiritual resource that is available unto us so that we can use it and happen to life. Wisdom, power, angelic assistance, speaking in tongues, right? A lot of things that God has made available to the believer so the believer can be the one leading life, not life leading the believer. So there are certain things that when they begin to happen to you, instead of you sitting and complaining, because people that life happens to them, they complain a lot. That's one. If you are here and when anything happens to you, you just begin to complain and begin to murmur and all of that, and then you do nothing about it. You are the type of person that life happens to. But if you are the type of person that you happen to life, when challenges come, you are proactive. When challenges come, either you're taking a fast, either you're praying, you're asking the Holy Spirit, what should I do? How should I do it? When should I do this? And all of that. You begin to seek the face of God to gain empowerment, to gain strength, to gain wisdom, to gain favor. You begin to do proactive things that gives you an edge, positions you a step ahead as far as that particular situation is concerned. Right? And this is why I always say that many Christians don't think, they don't act strategically, and they end up blaming the devil, witches and wizards, family members, the government, and all of that. You see, your brain is part of God's given tool for your empowerment and your manifestation. Your brain is part of God's given tool for your empowerment and your manifestation. So you need to use it. You need to intentionally use it and strategically use it. You need to put it to work. Why? Because there are things that when you know and you continue to know, you will end up living in abundance, and certain things that are prayer points, you will stop praying about it. Let me say that again. There are things that when you know and you continue to know, there is no way you can live in lack anymore. There is no way you cannot live in abundance. And there are some prayer points that you will stop praying. Why? Because there is a level of wisdom, there is a level of knowledge, there is a level of execution, there is a level of consistency around you that no longer permit lack, no longer permit certain things to be your challenge. Right? And these things are orchestrated by God when you begin to align yourself and take responsibility to do the things that you're supposed to do. Are you being blessed? Is somebody being challenged today so far? Because we need to see change happen. You know, one of my friends was telling me that when it comes to praying, when it comes to fasting and waiting upon the Lord, I do it like there's no hard work. But when we begin to sit and I begin to work and begin to think, begin to read books, begin to analyze, they're like, you begin to do this as if you don't pray. I said, that is the way to get ahead. You see, that's the way to get ahead. My calling, the work I do and the work God has called me to do, company owners come to me for counsel. Leaders come to me for counsel. And I know with the anointing and the grace God has given me, as I begin to grow, presidents of nations will come to me for counsel. I have provided counsel to kings. I've provided counsel to ministers. Right? So I need to begin. There's the things I do today and the things I build today. I don't build them based on where I am. I build them based on where I am going to. Many times I sit and I imagine me traveling to nations and going to different presidential offices to provide counsel and strategy and frameworks on how to advance the economy and do a lot of things. I need to begin to pay the price for that. Right? Africa is my playground. Africa is my field. That is the major location that God has said, this is where I've called you to do things. When you know that, you begin to change certain things. Let me tell you something. You will become very, very incredible, very successful, and make God proud when you're spiritually balanced and upright and you're competent in the things I'm talking about. There are some things that will stop being a prayer point. There are some things that you will stop worrying about. There are some things that will stop being certain challenges to you. For those of you who have passed this level already, there are many people here that you're no longer at this level. You know, I'm also talking to you to scale what you're doing. For those of you in a business that you're here and you follow me and your business is making 5 million a month or 10 million a month, you know I challenge you, scale it to 50 million a month. Start thinking of 100 million a month. Start thinking of 107 countries across Central Africa and start thinking of West Africa and East Africa. Challenge yourself. Don't be comfortable at that which you are getting. You need to scale it and move forward. Right? So, why is this important? Because you have got to be intentional to move to the new level of greatness and not live in obscurity. It's very important to be consistently intentional to move to your new level of greatness. And we all have different meanings of what new level of greatness means. But you need to find it. You need to find it. For some people, your next new level of greatness is for you to gain promotion in the company where you work right now. It's for you to get a better offer in a bigger company in the same industry where you operate. For some of you, it's to leave the work you do and go start that business you've been procrastinating for so long. For some of you, it's to stop calling that business small business and scale it into a bigger business. For some of you, if that is the will of God for you, you may need to leave the country where you are and go to the next country that you're planning to move to. And moving to the next level of greatness is never easy. It will come with challenges, and most importantly, it will require sacrifice. No new level of greatness comes without sacrifice. Never. It will always require sacrifice. You know what sacrifice really means? Sacrifice means forgetting your present condition and taking hold of a higher condition. That meaning anything that you need to drop in the present condition so you can rise to a higher condition, you're going to do it. So sacrifice could mean maybe you're going to sacrifice how long you sleep so you do more, you create more, you distribute more, you package more, you increase your value more. You're going to do it. The next level of greatness will require a certain dimension of sacrifice. And you need to intentionally make up your mind, I will not continue to live in obscurity. Right? Because you cannot have a brain and allow your environments to define you. Your brain is more powerful than your environment. Your brain is more powerful than your environment. To round up for today, For those who are joining in late so far, as of today, our Monday morning breakfast services will be in two services. First service, which we are having right now, will be marketplace dominion service, and the focus will be on me teaching certain strategies and frameworks and certain things that you can implement and do so you begin to rise to the top, right? And by God's grace, there are some things that I'm not teaching from the place of theory. There are many of the things I'm talking about. I have seen it, I have done it, and I've seen a lot of things practically. I've entered certain places, certain institutions and certain organizations, and met certain people, traveled certain nations, that I have the right to talk about certain things, especially for the younger people. For those who have grown bigger here, because it's a combined set of people, right? For those who are not struggling per se, but they want a skill, I've been able to do that. I've been able to help other people do that. I've spoken to work with businesses that have 700 million to 1 billion in sales every month, right? So there are certain things that I can talk about, I can counsel you about, and I can show you this is how to do this and how to maneuver this so you can rise to the top. Okay, to round up our first service so far, I want to encourage us to practice what is popularly known as the GE vision, the General Electric Motor Vision. This was done by, this was created by Jack Welch, one of the most recognized CEOs in the last century, no, in the present century, right? And Jack Welch, at the time, the CEO of GE, or General Electric Motors, created a vision that when I read about this vision, it challenged me as a person. And all of these things that I've been talking about today was to bring you to this point, and then we close. Jack Welch created a vision, and he said, our vision as a company, listen to me and listen carefully. And this is a vision that, this thing that I set for myself, and it challenged me, right? Jack Welch said, our vision as a company, our vision as General Electric Motors is to be the lead or to be the second in every market. In simple terms, to be number one or number two. So his mindset was, as the CEO of this company, if we are going to venture into any market, if we are going to be launching any product, we will only venture into a market or launch a product when we are certain that if we launch this product or we venture into this market, we will be number one in that market, or we will be number two in that market. If we will be number three, we're not doing it. So his goal was, either we are number one or we are number two. I was like, what a mindset. What a strategic way of challenging yourself and holding yourself into the highest standards ever. Many people are still performing at a very low level because they do not have a challenging, inspiring vision like this. You know, one of my goals, very couple of years back, was I made up my mind that, you see, in this training and in this coaching, in this consulting, in this thing that I'm doing, I am globally, I'm going to be one of the highly sought after. Globally, from Cameroon, from Africa, I will be one of the globally highly sought after experts in what I do. It was a decision. I am not going to be below. I am not going to be like everybody else. Will it be easy? No. Will I sacrifice? Yes. Will I sleep less? Yes. But I will step up. I want to challenge somebody. In whatever you do, let this vision inspire you. Write it. In this path that I have chosen for myself, either I am number one or I'm number two. That way, the way you're going to be committed, the way you will be innovative, you'll be a deeper critical thinker, because you know that when you are creating something, you are not creating something to fit in. You are creating something like a number one. You are creating something like a number two. Even for those of you who are working, you are not going to end up where you're working. And the only way to ever outgrow where you're working and get better offers or end up being a top pro in whatever you do, you need to start thinking like this. In this present organization where I am, is either I am number one or I'm number two. Apart from that, I am not settling for less. So Jack Welch said, as a company, it's either we are number one or we are number two. Anything else, we are going back to the drawing board. I have a question for somebody. Are you ready to dominate? The Bible says God created man and said, let us create man and let this man dominate. Be number one. Be at the top. Be at the top. I want to challenge somebody. I want to challenge us. The life application for today, as we round up, is what field, what industry will you be number one or number two in the next couple of years? Because you don't become number one or number two in a few years. A few days ago, I was listed as among the top 100 recognized coaches in Africa. I think I was the only Cameroonian that I saw in that list. I don't know. I spent time to look, but I think I didn't see. But across the African continent, I was recognized among the top 100 coaches in the whole continent. And another organization voted me among the top 10 experts in two different fields. That takes work. And that was globally, across the globe. It takes intentionality. It takes commitment. But it takes decision. You see, the difference between us is that when you begin to take these kind of actions now, God now amplifies it with grace. He now amplifies it with favor. That's why I always say, after you fast and pray, God do something extraordinary. So that when the grace of God and the favor of God meets with your excellence, you become the talk of the town. You become a recognized expert with significant tangible results. A recognized expert with significant tangible results. I don't trust a Christian who only fast and pray without excellent strategic hard work. You are frustrating the grace of God and the favor of God, because the favor of God and the grace of God need something in motion for it to take effect. That divine partnership, that human effort and divine and divinity must come in collaboration for extraordinary things to manifest. So the life application for you: which industry do you want to be number one or number two? Start the challenge. Start with your country. Then go to your continent. Then aim for global. That's the best way to do it. Start with the nation. When you dominate your nation, it becomes easy to be recognized continentally. And when you are non-continental, it becomes easy to be non-globally. Right? It's very important. Define the marketplace where you want to lead as far as your career and business is concerned. But I want you to challenge yourself because you have the spirit of excellence inside of you. Challenge yourself. In this path which I have decided to pursue as a working professional or as a business person, my new vision is to be number one or to be number two. Apart from that, I am not settling for anything else.